Hi guys, I'm having a great, extraordinary guest today with me. This is Jack Canfield, one of the very best motivational speakers and authors in the world. Jack, the Success Principles and the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. These are your two major successes, and you have sold 500 million books that far. I think nobody in the non-fiction world has sold so many book copies as you did. Is it right? Is it possible? How was it possible?
It was possible because the first year we basically did 5 things a day, every day, did 5 interviews a day, every day, and did that for about literally 3 or 4 years the first year. And then we tailed off a little bit, maybe it was 3 things a day. But the key is perseverance and consistency over time. And it's the same thing that the people in your book, The Billionaire Secret, basically also were able to do. It's the discipline and consistency over time that creates results. Unfortunately, really what took us over the top was in China when we had about 200 Chicken Soup for the Soul titles. They bought all the books and started using the books in the schools as textbooks. And so the government was basically printing them. I think we sold 315 million books just in China. And then when it went into India, there are, I think, 9 books that are also called Chicken Soup for the Indian Soul, Chicken Soup for the Indian Military Wives Soul, etc. And so India and China, being the 2 largest populations in the world, kind of took us over the top. But again, going to those countries, working hard, not just constantly promoting the books is what was required to get there.
Absolutely. So this is the, so to say, the magic of getting the scale effect. This is what actually billionaires do, right? It's not only that you have the right product, but you are able also to find a market and a method to scale it immensely, right? And you tapped into the potential of China and India, the most populated countries in the world, right?
Right. The fact that they made it a textbook in the schools as a way of teaching English, they put Chinese on one page and English on the other. And the stories in the books are much more interesting to read than things about, Chinese literature or the history of China.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know if you know how I learned about you. I learned about you actually through the story of Cliff Young. It was so inspiring for me. And I am from Germany. It wasn't that known in Germany. And I have read about that story in English somewhere, and then just wanted to find out where this story comes from, if this is true. And then I found a video of you telling the story, and then I thought, if this guy tells such great stories, what other things he has to say? And then I found out you were coming for the first time to Germany. I think it was 2013, maybe 14. And I went there, and actually this is where I spoke you up and pitched you about my book. I just told you my idea for the book, to interview 20 billionaires around the world and to extract their wisdom, because I realized by reading your book, Success Principles, that the success doesn't come from the circumstances, from the conditions you are in. It comes from within you, right? And then I somehow wanted to translate it to my entrepreneurship because I am an entrepreneur myself. So I thought, where can I learn to do business the best? I mean, to think correctly as an entrepreneur. Who are the role models in this world? And then I found out the best people to learn from are, of course, billionaires. These are the people who created the most value in business in the world, and they should be role models for every entrepreneur. And I remember I approached you, and you were quite skeptical if it can be done to actually gather 20 billionaires for a book project. Why were you so skeptical?
Well, I had written my book, The Success Principles, and I had interviewed 75 of the most successful people in the world. And I was not able to access a billionaire. I got a lot of people that were worth 100 million, 300 million, 600 million dollars, but no billionaire. So I thought, I'm pretty good. It's like, I didn't do that. But I think what you did, which was really incredible, is you would get the one, then you get another one, and those people would introduce you to someone else that would give you the credibility. You know, they've already talked to this guy, so maybe he's worth talking to. And you just did it very, very systematically. Over time, it didn't happen overnight, and you were just continually willing to just do whatever it took to get there, much like the billionaires, to get to where they are. Because one of the things I love about the book is how many obstacles these people had to overcome. They were not like overnight successes. They were not someone who was born rich that had a lot of money to develop. And so the stories of these people very much are you know, parallel to your story. So I think it's a great testament to you that you pulled it off.
Yeah, it took 5 years of my life, and some people from my environment, they started doubting if this will ever be finished. But it was so difficult to actually, you know, to pull it off, especially at the beginning, because you don't have any track record. This is my first book that I wrote on my own. I didn't have any track record, and I didn't also have that much to bring to the table at the beginning, at least, right? And that's why I'm so grateful also for your support, because you were encouraging me actually to not give up and follow that vision, and you were encouraging me to do more and more and to bring it to an end. And after 5 years, we are that far, right? But tell me, why did you want to contribute a foreword to my book?
Well, you know, my mission in life is to inspire and empower people to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy, which is exactly what the billionaires you interviewed do. They've lived their highest vision in a context of love and joy. Most of these people are very happy, they're very philanthropic, they're very loving and kind, and you know, people that have done great things in the world. And so if I could contribute to that, it was also furthering of my mission. And I could tell very quickly that you were someone that wanted to do the same thing. And you and I both know that stories inspire. And when people can read stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, it gives them the belief that they can do extraordinary things as well. So it was aligned with what I am about, what I believe in, and what my mission is in life. And once I got how clearly committed and how passionate you were about the project, I said, he's going to pull it off at that point. And when you finally did, I wanted to be part of it. Another thing is, I didn't want to wait till the book came out to read all the stories. So by writing them forward, I got an advanced view of the whole thing.
Yes, and actually, my vision with that book is to raise the level of entrepreneurship in the world, because you know, the better we perform as entrepreneurs, and you are an entrepreneur as well. I mean, you have you made your writing into a business, your teaching. The better we perform as entrepreneurs in the world, the more people have in the world, right? The happier life they live. So that's a great goal, I think. But tell me, what makes this book different in your opinion? Because you wrote, this is one of the top 5 books on success ever written. These are like outrageous words, and of course I'm honored to hear that, but what is so different about this book for you?
Well, I think what makes the book unique, number one, is there are 21 billionaires. I don't think any book has ever gathered the wisdom of 21 billionaires before. And 21 billionaires who are all self-made entrepreneurs, people that started with nothing. And I think the fact that their stories, you got them to, I think you're a really good interviewer because you got the stories from their real personalities. In other words, it wasn't something like for Fortune or Forbes magazine. It was just about their business success, but it was about their personal philosophies, their personal disciplines, their struggles, the obstacles they had to overcome. And then the way you put the book together around those principles, illustrating each principle with their stories, is really valuable. And I think some of the principles, you know, are things that people wouldn't have thought of before. I mean, one of the things that I thought was amazing is almost everyone, and perhaps everyone in the book, was someone who got up very, very early, 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, exercised, read for at least an hour a day, were people that were, many of them, if they didn't meditate, they at least contemplated. They would sit and write and think about their ideas and think about their strategies. They were people that never took no for an answer. There was a level of self-confidence and self-belief that comes through in the book. And I've always taught that certainty sells. And these people, some of the stories that you were able to extract from them about overcoming obstacles. I forget the man's name right now. I think it might have been his one. I'm not sure, but the one who bought the mall and had to fill it with all kinds of products.
Peter Flodalen from Norway, right?
And only had a few days to do it and pulled it off. I mean, the chutzpah and the courage and the self-confidence and the self-belief, and everyone demonstrated that. The willingness to do whatever it took, the willingness to work hard. I think that comes through in such a powerful way in the book. And so I think that's another thing that makes the book unique. And I think, you know, I think because the people are so ordinary and started off so normally, some of them at the bottom of the food chain, if you will, some of them, you know, bad kids, if you will, that were thrown out of school in the 5th grade and basically at 14 decided this doesn't work. One of my favorite stories is about the man in China who was basically, his whole job was to take care of one cow because they thought he was so incompetent to do anything. And at 14, he decided, I want to make something of my life. And he started cutting grass like at 5:30 in the morning down by the river and then selling it to the horse people for hay. And then little by little, he wanted to learn to read. So he started reading his brother's textbook. And then he realized there were words he didn't know. And he saved for a year. He didn't spend a penny on anything and saved for a year to buy a dictionary and then saved for 3 more years to buy an encyclopedia. We don't know how much sacrifice that is. You and I can go online and buy a dictionary. We can go to Wikipedia and get all this information. The level of self-sacrifice and commitment and dedication, then to work all these jobs as a greengrocer and a delivery man and a guy who grew fungus and all kinds of food, and then worked in a factory and then became a factory manager and eventually became the world's #1 supplier of automobile windshields, and you know, is now a billionaire. You know, you read that story and you read stories like that and you realize, oh my God, you know, what excuses have I been giving myself, you know? And it just, you rise above. It's so inspiring and so empowering. So it's not just inspiring, but it is empowering because there are tools and disciplines that one has to adopt if one wants to be successful. I'm thinking about one of the authors, or one of the billionaires that you interviewed, who literally, if he had to get in his private jet at 5:30, was up at 3:30 in the morning to exercise, would never skip a day. And that level of, you know, having energy. And he talked about that when he would work out, he would get energy, not expend energy. I think most people are lazy. And you realize you have to be disciplined to be successful. So the book for me, it just sings with so much value.
And why do you think entrepreneurs should read this book? Why is it valuable for entrepreneurs? Because actually, well, I wrote it mainly for entrepreneurs.
Exactly. My youngest son, 28 years old, just graduated from the Wharton Business School in Philadelphia, arguably one of the top 10 business schools, along with Harvard and Stanford, places like that. And he didn't learn any of this stuff in graduate school. They don't teach this. So you can go to school and you'll learn all about accounting, you'll learn how to read spreadsheets, and you'll learn about some management tools and so on and so forth. But you won't learn the secrets of success. This is like having 21 mentors. If anyone had any one of these people for a mentor, it would be like a gift from God. And to have 21 of these people telling you their best secrets, their best strategies, the philosophy they live by, how they manage people, why managing people and caring about people is so important, which is another thing they don't teach you very well in business school. So this is like an MBA degree on steroids, you know, that most people would never have access to. So I just think it's phenomenal.
Okay, the last question in the interview: what message would you like the entrepreneurs around the world to take away from the $1 Billion Secret from this book? What do you think is the most important message for entrepreneurs?
Well, my mentor, who really helped me become as successful as I become, was a man named W. Clement Stone. He was worth $600 million back in the 1970s. Today, that would be he'd be a billionaire by today's inflationary standards. And he had 2 rules called OPM and OPE. You invest other people's money, not your own, and you borrow it and you would get them to invest. And he actually got people to invest their own money when he was buying their company. And the other thing was OPE, other people's experience. In other words, we need to learn from people who've already been down the path that we want to go. And so it's so easy to have access now through this book to other people's experience. So you don't have to learn all the lessons that they learned. They're sharing with you their expertise. And so I would say the main thing I would want people to leave with is that you don't have to struggle to get this information now. It's available to you. And if you apply it, that's the thing. W. Clement Stone, my mentor, said you have to basically get the information, assimilate the information, and then apply the information, respond to the feedback you get, and then correct based on that feedback, which is what every one of these guys who became billionaires did. And I think that the main message I would want them to take away is it's possible if you're willing to do the work, if you have the right philosophy, if you have the right disciplines, if you have the right behaviors, if you have the right mindset. And I think that mindset is something that people are just beginning to understand the power of. And it comes through so clearly in this book that with the proper mindset, the proper ability, the proper stick-to-itiveness. You know, I'll share one more of my favorite stories with you and with the people that are watching this. It was Narayana Murthy, who was in India, who literally with $250 gathered together from 7 investors, him being one of them, was able to start a company. $250 from 7 people. And they wanted to start a software company in a country where they did not have a computer. And it took them 3 years to get a license to be able to import a computer, because when Nehru was the head of India in 1981, when they started their country, it was a socialist country. The country was corrupt, it was highly regulated, and basically the people at the top were giving themselves all of the benefits, not the people at the bottom who were starting businesses. He had to travel 50 times back and forth from Bangalore to Delhi. It took 2 days each direction because of the trains. If you've ever driven on the train in India, which I have, it's an experience. They stop everywhere and it takes forever. People get on and off.
I was in India, so I know how it looks like, but I wasn't courageous enough, brave enough to travel by train.
Right, and then it took 3 years to get a license to import a computer. So they had to send 5 or 6 of the partners to America to work on someone else's computer when they weren't working on it, to be able to get the code created. They created the code in India. They couldn't, there was no internet at the time. They couldn't get it over there the way we do now. We just hit a button. And they couldn't use a phone because they didn't have a phone. It took them a year to get a phone. And then when they got the phone, it didn't work half the time because it was either out of order or there was a party line and someone else was on it. So they would literally fax copies of the code to the United States. They would then re-enter the code into the computer in the United States. They did that for 5 years before they finally were able to bring everyone back to India. And today that company is called Infosys, has 200,000 programmers, and he is either the or one of the richest people in India. That level of commitment and the willingness to stick with it. I mean, most people don't know in my world, I was rejected over the period of 18 months by 5 publishers before we got Chicken Soup for the Soul published. And it was that commitment to never, ever give up and do what we call the rule of 5 every day, 5 action steps no matter what, that allowed us to finally sell the book. Took us 1.5 years to sell 1.5 million copies. And then by going to all the publishers around the world, we were able to eventually be in 49 languages and now have 600 million books. But it takes that level. And if people are willing
not to forget, you hold Guinness Book a record for the most simultaneous New York Times bestsellers, right? You had like 7 bestsellers at the same time on the New York Times bestseller list, right? So this commitment brings these results.
Exactly, right? Exactly. 7 books. So I think it was 1, 2, 3, 7, 14, 15, and whatever it takes to make 7. But the point was that I was re-inspired by this book. And I have to say, as successful as I am, reading this book, I walked away with a much better understanding of scalability, what it takes to scale something. The man in Russia who's opening 17 supermarkets a day. Think about that. 17,000 supermarkets. You know, and I think in the book you say, if you can be a millionaire with 1 supermarket, but to be a billionaire, you know, you got to do a whole lot more. I think you use the metaphor of if you made $500,000 a year, you would have had to start before Christ and never spent 1 cent of that to be a billionaire. That's a phenomenal figure. And so what these people have accomplished and proven that other people can do it as well, I think is a great testament to the power of the book. And I recommend everybody read it for that reason.
Okay, thank you, Jack, for these kind words. And thank you guys for watching. The one and only Jack Canfield. To get this unique book, The $1 Billion Secret, go to my website, thebilliondollarsecret.com. Here in the video and in the description below the video, you will find the link. I invite you to comment this video and give me also a thumb up. This will help to rank this video. And of course, share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. One day they will thank you for that. That's it for today. I wish you a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.